Okay, now dear students, back to continuation part of organisms and population. Back to continuation part of organisms and population. Initially, we have come across definition of ecology. Followed by that, I introduced four basic level of organization: organisms, population, community, and biome. Followed by that, you have come across five major biomes are produced. Then you have come across both biotic and abiotic factor will characterize the habitat. Both biotic and abiotic factor will characterize the habitat. Under abiotic, I covered two types. One is water, second is temperature. Still two more are waiting. One is sunlight, ultimate source of all forms of energy, and soil. Before that, I planned to introduce adaptations and take care of this matter because it is very important for the point of examination. Now first question arises, what is adaptation? Question arises, what is adaptations? Morphological, physiological, behavioral changes. Morphological, physiological, behavioral changes developed in an organism over a long period of time to adjust themselves with particular environmental condition is called as adaptations. Morphological, physiological, behavioral changes developed in an organism over a long period of time to adjust themselves with the particular environmental condition is called as adaptation. As you know already, I am adapted to Gulbarga environmental conditions. Same way, morphological, you know already it is a branch of biology which deals with the study of external characters. Morphology is a branch of biology which deals with the study of external characters. Physiology deals with the study of important functions like digestion, circulation, respiration, excretion, nervous, reproduction, etc. And behavioral changes developed in an organism over a long period of time to adjust themselves with the particular environmental condition is called as adaptations. Now look over xerophytic adaptation. The plants which are growing in the dry or desert area or xeric condition is called as xerophytes. The plants which are growing in the desert areas are called as xerophytes. Many examples are there. Among them, the one which you have come across many times is cactus. Okay, cactus. Xerophytic example is cactus. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಪಾಸ್ ಕಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. Xerophytes, the plants which are growing in the desert environment. Now look over adaptations in the xerophytic plants. Thick cuticle, multi-layered epidermis, sunk stomata, pillowclade, cladode, pillowed, mucilage, scotoactive stomata. Here I put forward the list of adaptations. Thick cuticle. Back to first year chapter anatomy of flowering plants. Anatomy of flowering plants. Where you come across this matter? When you take the transverse section of a stem, when you take the transverse section of a dicot stem, you will get three regions: epidermis, cortex, and stele. When you take the transverse section of a young dicot stem, you will get three regions: epidermis, cortex, and stele. You know already, epidermis is the outermost layer. It is made up of barrel-shaped cells. Cells are tightly arranged or compactly arranged without any intercellular space. Outer wall of the epidermis will show a thin waxy coat known as cuticle. When you take the transverse section of a young dicot stem, you will get three regions: epidermis, cortex, and stele. Epidermis is the outermost layer. Outer wall of the epidermis will show a thin waxy coat known as cuticle. Cuticle not only gives protection but also checks the rate of transpiration. Cuticle not only gives protection but also checks the rate of transpiration. You know already the loss of water in the form of water vapor, the loss of water in the form of water vapor through the aerial parts of the plant body is called as transpiration. Loss of water in the form of water vapor through the aerial parts of the plant body is called as transpiration. But in xerophytes, cuticle is thick. In xerophyte, cuticle is thick. Second adaptation, multi-layered epidermis. Generally, epidermis is single layer. Epidermis is the outermost layer. It may be a single layer or it may be a multi-layered. It may be single or multi-layered. So here multi-layered means it is made up of many layers just to check the rate of transpiration. Multi-layered epidermis is noticed in nerium. Multi-layered epidermis is noticed in nerium. In Kannada it is called as Kanagil Hoovu. Okay? Multi-layered epidermis. Sunken stomata. Back to same chapter, anatomy of flowering plant, where you have come across stomata. Stomatas are the minute openings. Stomata are the minute openings present on the surface of the young stem and leaves. Sunken stomata means they are situated deep into the tissues. Sunken stomata means stomatas are situated deep into the tissue just to check the rate of transpiration. I hope that cuticle is clear. Multi-layered epidermis means it is made up of many layers just to check the rate of transpiration. Classic example is nerium indicum. Sunken stomata means they are situated in the tissues. They are situated deep in the tissue just to check the rate of transpiration. Next is pillowclade. It is an aerial modification of the stem. It is an aerial modification of the stem for photosynthesis. Pillowclade is an aerial modification of the stem for photosynthesis. In case of cactus, leaves are highly reduced. In case of cactus, leaves are highly reduced and they are modified into spines. Leaves are highly reduced and they are modified into spines just to check the rate of transpiration. Second, to protect the plant from the herbivorous animals. Pillowclade is an aerial modification of the stem for photosynthesis, where leaves are highly reduced and they are modified into spines to perform two important functions. Number one, to protect the plant from the herbivorous animals or grazing animals or browsing animals. Second, to check the rate of transpiration. To check the rate of transpiration. Same way, cladode. So nowadays this plant is grown as an ornamental plant. Example is asparagus. Pillowed, okay, Parkinsonia, and even Australian acacia. Many examples are there for the pillowed Australian acacia. Okay, pillowclade, cladode, pillowed. Mucilage is a hydrophilic substance. The substance which has got a great affinity towards water is called as hydrophilic substance. Mucilage is a hydrophilic substance. The substance which has got a great affinity towards water. And I am expecting that you have seen this mucilage. When you cut the banana tree pseudo stem, actually it is having pseudo stem. When you cut the banana tree, no doubt you will get a sticky material that is nothing but mucilage. Scotoactive stomata. Look over one more adaptation, a very important adaptation. Generally in mesophyte, stomata will open during daytime. In mesophyte, Stomata will open during daytime and closes during night time. But here, scotoactive means stomata will open during night time and closes during daytime to check the rate of transpiration. Last technical term, scotoactive stomata. In mesophyte, stomata will open during daytime and closes during night time. In mesophytes, stomata will open during daytime and closes during night time. Scotoactive means the stomata will open during night time and closes during daytime to check the rate of transpiration. That ends all the adaptations concerned with the xerophytic plants. Okay, next is adaptations in animals. Now look over, dear students, adaptations in animals. Previously we have come across adaptations in plant, especially xerophytic adaptations. Now look over, next matter is adaptations in animals. Kangaroo rats, Allen's rule, blubber, phenotypic adaptation, biochemical adaptation, behavioral adaptation. Now look over one by one. Kangaroo rats living in the North American deserts. Kangaroo rats living in the North American deserts have the capacity to meet their water requirements by the internal fat oxidation. Kangaroo rats living in the North American deserts have the capacity to meet their water requirements by the internal fat oxidation. Even kangaroo rats has got the capacity to concentrate its urine. It has got the capacity to concentrate its urine so that it can utilize less water to expel the excretory products. Look over adaptations in animal. So 3 examples I will discuss. Followed by that you are going to study phenotypic, biochemical, behavioral. Kangaroo rats living in the North American deserts, have the capacity to meet their water requirements by the internal fat oxidation. Even it has got the capacity to concentrate its urine. So that it can utilize less water to expel the excretory products. Next is Allen's rule. So the mammals are the animals which are dwelling in the colder areas. The mammals are the animals which are dwelling in the colder areas, have small ear and small limbs. Small ears and small limbs, so that it can prevent the loss of heat from the body. Look over here, the mammals which are dwelling in the colder areas, have small pinnas or small ears and small limbs to avoid the loss of heat from the body. Same way, I hope that you know examples like whale, and polar seals. Whale and polar seals. Whale is not a fish, it is a mammal. Okay, whale is a mammal. Just beneath the skin of the whale and polar seals, you will get a thick layer of adipose tissue. Adipose is nothing but a fatty tissue. Just beneath or just below the skin of the whale, you will get a thick layer of adipose tissue known as blubber. This blubber will act as an insulator and it will prevent the loss of heat from the body. The animals like whale and seals, polar seals, just beneath the skin you will get a thick layer of adipose tissue or a fatty tissue known as blubber. This blubber will act as an insulator and prevent the loss of heat from the body. Next is phenotypic adaptation. Before switch over to the phenotypic adaptation, please remember adaptations are of two types. Genotypic and phenotypic. Adaptations are of two types, genotypic and phenotypic. Genotypic adaptation occur due to natural selection. These two technical terms already we have come across in principles of inheritance and variation. Genotype, genetic makeup of an organism. Phenotype, externally expressed character. Genetic makeup of an individual, externally expressed character, but here the meaning is different. Genotypic adaptations will occur as a result of natural selection. Back to your lower classes, I am expecting that you have remembered Darwinism. Okay, Darwinism. Principles of Darwin. Overproduction or prodigality of production, struggle for existence, variation, survival of the fittest, natural selection and the origin of new species. Overproduction or prodigality of production. Finally, we have come across fittest will survive and reproduce, unfit individuals are eliminated from the nature. So, genotypic adaptations will occur due to natural selection, whereas phenotypic are the non-genetic changes. They are non-genetic changes. Phenotypic are the non-genetic changes. It may be an physiological adaptation or it may be an behavioral adaptations. So look over and don't get confused with this technical term. Genotype, genetic makeup of an individual. Phenotype, externally expressed character. But here, genotypic adaptation will occur due to natural selection. It is one of the principles of Darwinism. Overproduction or prodigality of production, struggle for existence, variation, survival of the fittest, natural selection and the origin of new species. Final conclusion in Darwinism, fittest will survive and reproduce, unfit individuals are eliminated from the nature. Phenotypic are the non-genetic changes. It may be an physiological or it may be an behavioral adaptation. Now look over fourth type, phenotypic adaptation. Phenotypic adaptation. Now look over phenotypic adaptation. This phenotypic adaptation will enable the organism, phenotypic adaptation will enable the organism to respond quickly to the stressful conditions. Phenotypic adaptation will enable the organism to respond quickly to the stressful conditions. If we visit high altitude areas like Manali and Manas Sarovara in Tibet, I hope that you have remembered Manali. In Three Idiot film, they have shown this Manali. Okay, phenotypic adaptation will enable the organism to respond to quickly to the stressful conditions. If we visit high altitude areas like Manali and Manas Sarovara in Tibet, no doubt you will feel altitude sickness. No doubt you will feel altitude sickness. Now, question arises, why altitude sickness is caused? Because at high altitude, atmospheric pressure is low, along with lower concentration of oxygen. At high altitude, atmospheric pressure is low, and along with that, percentage of oxygen is also low. Now look over the symptoms of altitude sickness. If we visit high altitude areas like Manali and Manas Sarovara in Tibet, no doubt you will feel altitude sickness, because at a high altitude, atmospheric pressure is low. Along with that, percentage or amount of oxygen is also low. Symptoms of altitude sickness, number 1, nausea, feeling sickness. Nausea is nothing but feeling sickness. Fatigue, tiredness. Fatigue is nothing but tiredness. Heart palpitation, irregular heartbeat. Nausea, feeling sickness, fatigue, illness. Heart palpitation is nothing but irregular heartbeat. But don't bother about this altitude sickness, because gradually your body will get adjust with this new environment by increasing the production of RBCs, red blood corpuscles, or you can call it as an erythrocytes. It will increases the rate of breathing. You have come across in first year, inspiration and expiration. Inspiration and expiration. Then it will decreases the binding affinity of hemoglobin. Look over here, 3 symptoms of altitude sickness are nausea, feeling sickness, tiredness, and irregular heartbeat. But don't bother about the altitude sickness, because gradually your body will cooperate by increasing the production of red blood corpuscles. It will increases the rate of breathing. It will decreases the binding affinity of hemoglobin. Back to first year, chapter structural organization in animal and even circulation. I come across this hemoglobin or respiration. Hemoglobin is a complex protein. Hemoglobin is a complex protein. It has got a great affinity towards oxygen. Each hemoglobin is made up of 4 iron atoms. Each iron atom has got the capacity to carry 1 molecule of oxygen. As a result, each hemoglobin will carry 4 molecules of oxygen. Hemoglobin is a complex protein. It has got a great affinity towards oxygen. Each hemoglobin is made up of 4 iron atoms. Each iron atom has the capacity to carry 1 molecule of oxygen. As a result, each hemoglobin will carry 4 molecules of oxygen. That ends phenotypic adaptation. Dear students, please remember this matter is very important for the point of examination. Now look over next one more is biochemical adaptations. These are the adaptations which are noticed in the biochemical reactions. Biochemical adaptation, as the name itself indicate, these are the adaptations which are noticed in the biochemical reaction, which helps the organism to survive even in the extreme conditions. Biochemical adaptations are the adaptations which are noticed in the biochemical reactions, which will enable the organism to even survive in the extreme environment. Please remember, enzymes are controlling these biochemical adaptations. Enzymes are controlling these biochemical adaptations. They are of two groups, pressure tolerance and thermal tolerance. Pressure tolerance and thermal tolerance. So look over once again. Biochemical adaptations are the adaptations which occur in the biochemical reactions, where enzymes are controlling these adaptations, which will help the organism to survive even in the extreme environment or extreme conditions. Now look over first, pressure tolerance. A great variety of invertebrates, you know already, animals with backbone are called as vertebrates, animals without backbone are called as invertebrates. Animals with backbone are called as vertebrates, animals without backbone are called as invertebrate. A great variety of invertebrates and fishes flourish in the depth of the ocean. A great variety of invertebrates and fishes flourish in the depth of the ocean, where the pressure is more than 100 times, than that of the atmospheric pressure. Pressure tolerance. A great variety of invertebrates and fishes flourish in the depth of the ocean, where the pressure is more than 100 times than that of the normal atmospheric pressure. Thermal tolerance. So, you know already, in almost all the organisms or in most of the organisms, physiological activities will take place in an optimum range of temperature, or it occurs in an optimum temperature. For example, with respect to human beings, the metabolic activities will occur at 37 degrees centigrade. But I hope that you have remembered this archaebacteria will live in such a places where other organisms cannot survive. For example, dark depth of the ocean, hot water spring, high alkalinity, and even hydrothermal vents where the temperature is more than 100 degrees centigrade. In almost all the organisms, metabolic activity or physiological activities will occur in an optimally conditions of temperature. For example, with respect to human beings, the body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. All the physiological activities will occur at 37 degrees centigrade. But archaebacteria will live in such a places where other organisms cannot survive. For example, dark depth of the ocean, hot water spring, high alkalinity, even hydrothermal vents where the temperature will proceed more than 100 degrees centigrade, where the temperature is more than 100 degrees centigrade. That is mainly due to biochemical adaptations. Now look at the last adaptation, behavioral adaptation. These are the adaptations which are noticed only in some organisms in their behavior to overcome stressful conditions. Behavioral adaptations are the adaptations which are noticed only in some organism, in their behavior to overcome stressful conditions. Under that, two examples they are quoted. One is desert lizards and crocodiles will bask their body in the sun to absorb the heat when the temperature is below comfort zone. But they will move to shady area as the temperature of the body will starts gradually increasing. Look over here. Behavioral adaptations are the adaptations which are noticed only in some organism in their behavior to protect themselves from the stressful conditions. Under that, two examples they are quoted. One is desert lizard and crocodile will bask their body in the sun to absorb heat when the temperature is below comfort zone. But they will start moving towards the shady areas when the temperature will starts gradually increasing. Second, there are some organisms are there which are capable of burrowing and enter into the soil. There are some organisms are there which are capable of burrowing into the soil to protect themselves from the ground heat. There are some organisms are there which are capable of burrowing into the soil to protect themselves from the heat of the atmosphere or temperature of the atmosphere. So that ends all the adaptations. So initially you have come across adaptations in the plants, followed by that I discussed adaptations in the animals.